for takeoff.
We are cleared for takeoff.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is the place where real dialogue matters. It is time to take flight with Audio Airstrike.
All right.
What the hell was that?
Huh?
What the hell was that?
Well, good.
No, what the hell was that? Yo, you did a yell and like I don't know if you were stretching or what was that was. Yeah, we are recording right now. That what was that?
I was seeing if the camera picked up like what you're asking me right now because I don't.
What was that? You stretched and you yell and then you came back. What was that?
What?
Never mind. Okay, you want to play it off. Okay. That's a hell of a beginning to start the show. So look, I wanted to talk to you about this, and I think you could speak to this.
No, I'm just playing.
So I think you can kind of speak to this, where it's like, and I think you're to a degree you're experiencing it right now. We talked about it.
I wipe my eyes.
Right. We've kind of had this conversation off air about like content creators and the work-life balance of a content creator, and we've even had conversation offline, I should say, about trying to find a work-life balance and trying to manage things because we have our 9-to-5 job, we have other creative projects that we're doing, plus trying to find like a social life in between to kind of balance all that, and we've kind of had like conversations about these things. So my thing is that I wanted to kind of do what the episode is a little bit differently is you being somebody that has their own brand, which is Gloves Up. Make sure y'all check that out. And one of the things that I've noticed, and I'm going to be candid when I say this, sometimes I get concerned that you burn the midnight oil too much. And you've heard me like, and this is not me trying to put this dude on trial. Like I've told him to his face off this camera. So,
hey, you're working too much. Not to sound like I'm grilling you here. Hey, I'm caring about you. Not to sound like I'm being too harsh right now. That's funny. You're funny. That's funny, Ev. Yeah, I don't feel like you're grilling or anything. I think it is a conversation we've had for sure, though. Yeah, it's unavoidable. We've had the conversation probably like 2-3 times, 4 times maybe.
Do you feel like how is stuff going now in terms of the work-life balance? Like honestly, transparent-wise, you ain't gotta.
Not great.
Gotcha.
But like I've been more like I'll have ebbs and flows. I think that's like an underrated tool that you have to have as a busy person. Is I'll have phases where maybe I'm more social. I'll have phases where maybe I'm more career-oriented, and it's never like. The ultimate goal stays the same, but I'm talking about when I say phases where you're more social, I'm talking about there might be a month where, hey, instead of just editing by myself in the solitude, excuse me, that's the word I'm looking for, solitude of my room, I might invite a girl over and she can hang and work while we both do stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like she'll work, I'll work. But there's someone as company there. Or I'll call you up or I'll call Alex up and I'll say, like, let's go to a coffee shop. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And that's a lot of times, like, these self-help or whoever it is you might see, they'll tell you it has to be, like, yeah, you have to your friends are going out and partying. It has to be that you ignore them and you lock yourself in your room and it's like, no, dude. There is ways to say, okay, for instance, you, Ben, and Alex are all going out, and you guys want me to come with. And there'll be times, and I'll admit this, where I will have not left my apartment on a weekend for months upon months upon months, 5-6 months. I can't remember the last time I've been out to a bar, actually, or done anything really fun on the weekends besides I'll go to, like, comedy shows or something. But even with that, hey, there's nothing wrong with building more. Like, if it's a Saturday that we're going out, that Friday night, I'll front load more work to compensate. Or I'll just make sure that I get everything done for the day that I need to get done done, you know? Like, that's another thing that I've been doing, or I've done this for such a long time. I can't even remember how long I've been doing this. But I'll keep, like, a daily list. Nobody's going to be able to see this. But I'll keep a daily list of things that I have to do for each day. Podcast ideas, podcast topics. So today I had record with Ev, took that off. I had apply, so I applied to some jobs. I have to work out after this. I have to write. I have to edit. And then I have to do some stuff for the other gig I was telling you about. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big believer now in, like, a big part of work-life balance is not allowing yourself the idea, or doing everything you possibly can to disillusion yourself of the idea that going out is automatically a bad thing. And this is something that, admittedly, I'm not good at. Because he'll tell you, when we've been out at places, I'll be, like, kind of off of my own world at times, and then they'll ask me what I'm thinking about, and I'm like, man, I want to be doing this, I could be doing this, I could be doing this. You know, it's definitely something that will take away from it, but it does help, and it satisfies things to, like, check things off of a list. So if we're going to go out for dinner on a Saturday night, I'll write, okay, I have to apply to something, I have to completely edit a video, do the graphic, post it up to YouTube. I have to write a little bit of my screenplay. I have to do this, I have to do that. And once all those things are done, I can go. If I do not get them done in the time where it takes to get to go, then either I'll try and see if we can postpone it, or I'll do it when I get back, whatever time that is. So if that's 2, 3 in the morning, boom. And even if that's not the case, then, hey, that leftover, I'll do like the leftover dinner thing, where whatever I have left over, let's just say I get everything and 30 minutes of my commentary practice done, and I have the rest of the 30 minutes. If I get back from the bar at 3 a.m., that's getting tacked on to tomorrow, the speech practice, the commentary practice, will be an hour and 30 minutes instead of just an hour. So I'm also a big proponent in, like, tacking on the stuff that you don't finish in a day to the next day.
I do get balancing and doing all that. Now, this is just me, right? You've talked about, in certain moments, I'll, like, still be thinking about, I got to get this done, I got to get that done. With that being said, do you feel like, I should say this, I feel like with that, there's a pro and a con to that. I feel like a pro is you are about your business and you will do your work and you work hard. That is a good trait to have to a degree. The con to that is I feel like you are constantly not embracing the moment and being present in the fun times that you have at times, True. Which could at times make you disconnect from the camaraderie, being around your friends and stuff of that nature. I think sometimes to a degree that might be missed.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working on that. It's been my next task. It's also, I think, looking at it as if it's a task. Because, like, guys like me, we're a little bit, like, messed up in that I have to be, I don't know if I could just do something to do it. Now, I've gotten better at that. Sometimes if I finish stuff for a night, like, let's just say I finish everything by 12:30 and I usually go to sleep at 1:30, probably a bad habit, but I'll say, okay, I could play PlayStation for an hour. I earned that PlayStation game, That's another thing, setting up an earning system, being fair to yourself. Also, a lot more positive self-talk. Like, I think I was editing up until, it was a few nights ago, or it was maybe over the weekend. Yeah, it was Saturday night. Or was it Friday night?
Was it the night that I texted you and told you I was editing too?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That was Saturday night because that was UFC was on.
Mm-hmm.
I was up till like 3:30 doing stuff.
I was in bed by then.
Which is late for even me. Mm-hmm. Usually I'll clock out at around 12 or 1 or sometimes 2 if I'm really, But I made sure to tell myself, hey, Cooperman, absolute G, getting it done, Which is something I never told myself before, and I think is a very useful tool. Like, one thing, I don't think I was torturing myself, but I think you should do things to eliminate, this is all the roundabout way of saying, you should do things to eliminate that. If you have this voice, where guys like me that work really hard, it is not that voice that tells you that you're not doing enough, or that you're not enough of this, or that you're not enough of that. It can be a good tool, but it also, it really, if you're not careful, it chips away at your confidence. So positive self-talk, like, hey, it's 1 a.m. and you're still doing stuff, Cooperman. I know you got a couple more things to do, but like, hey, good job. Good job. Not a lot of people are up at this hour doing this. And the ones that are the ones that are really dedicated. So you're in that type of rarefied air. Good job, buddy. Telling yourself things like that, listing things out, feeling like you're getting stuff done, holding your stuff to a high standard, but also knowing kind of when to keep things moving is another big one. I think those are all things that will help you get in the moment. Another thing I've also realized is I enjoy the little things now a lot more. I'm not particularly a religious guy. I know Ev's way more religious than I am, but I am a big proponent of taking 15 minutes and just being thankful for things. So for me, that's in the form of a prayer. I just say, like, thank you for, all the skill sets and the work ethic you've given me and all the friends I have. Hopefully they're doing good, and let's keep this thing rolling. Let's see how far we can take it. And that's essentially the extent of my nightly stuff now. Taking time to slow down too. Like maybe 5 minutes of that 15 minutes is a prayer. The next 10 minutes is literally just sitting in a bath, and just being like having to slow everything down and just taking a second. And that's also been a big thing. But again, I'm not perfect. I still, I just don't like the feeling that other people could be working when I are working when I could be working. That's not something like, because I think there's just so many talented people, and there are certainly people that are more talented than I out there. And so I always felt like what I had to rely on is my work ethic to be able to get to where I wanted to be.
Do you think you're in competition with yourself or with others?
Both. I mean, listen, like, I think there's enough spots for everyone. Like, if you work hard enough, you're going to get around enough people. You'll get to a level where it's like, yeah, competition is stiff, but you're also in that bracket, That's something I tell myself a lot, too, is hey, I've worked myself to the point where, my competition are guys that are making $1,000 per show, that are working in close proximity to the UFC. Yeah, is that a little bit daunting? Do I have to work harder? Sure, but it's also like, man, wait a second. I'm in competition with guys that are close to the UFC, wonderfully talented individuals. Guys that are also, they work maybe not as hard, I don't know, but they have the talent level to where they can be doing these things. And so for me, it's always been like kind of telling myself that, and, just saying, I don't know if I'm ever going to necessarily change from the working hard enough that, it sounds cliche and kind of corny to say, like, outwork everyone in the room, but yeah, it's a challenge to be better than me. It's a challenge that I want to be better than others because I care about it. It's not to say that I beat them. It's just to say that I am these things. And so when I don't work towards it, it feels like it's kind of an affront to myself almost. Because I am this hard worker. I am this guy that strives to be better. I am this guy, like, I know what I can do. And so when I'm not doing it, maybe it feels like I'm cheating myself a little bit.
Let me ask you this: do you appreciate the journey, or
Yeah.
do you appreciate the journey?
More now, yeah. I didn't used to, but like, I flew to Florida like 3 times last year to pursue the dream. Super sick. I mean, that was honestly like, just the fact that I can do that. Drove to a bunch of different places, had road trips, had big moments. Had UFC fighters using my notes for reference on talking about fighters. So, like, these things, I appreciate that. And I appreciate myself for being an absolute dog. But, I think by nature, I'm whether it be through myself or through other people now more so to another extent, to a greater extent, it's like, you got to show me for me to believe it,
Mm. Yeah, I think that is true. I think a lot of times we get so caught up in, oh, nobody's supporting me, nobody's looking out for me, everybody's sleeping on me. People flock to what is in front of their face. And I know that kind of sounds like very surface level, but it's the truth. If somebody carries out a vision physically, it manifests physically right in front of your face, you are going to buy in more rather than somebody telling you with nothing going, or it's just an idea on a piece of paper right now. You know what I mean? It's one thing if I come up to you and say, hey, I want to do this concert. It's a whole other thing. And like, hey, I have this record label involved in doing this concert. Would you like to participate? Here's the paperwork to prove it. It's a totally different thing. So I think for those of y'all that have ideas on piece of paper and you feel that way, like, don't focus on the fact that, okay, certain people may be sleeping on you or certain people just may not be paying attention. I said this a couple years ago on a podcast. A lot of people, the first mistake that they do is they think their friends and family is going to support them. That's the first mistake. It's a healthy mistake and a lesson to learn, but that's the first mistake you do as a content creator. You think that your family and friends should support you. Let's be for real. They are used to hearing your voice on a regular basis. 9 times out of 10, the ugly reality is they are not going to tune into a video of you talking, but a stranger will.
But I wouldn't want them to tune into that. Also, that's the other thing.
Yeah, and I'm just putting it out there that may, the ugly truth of it is that it probably is going to be the case. Like, they're not going to understand.
Yeah, when my friends, like, I know they're doing it out of love, but it rings hollow to me when it's like, oh yeah, dude, like, I'll check your stuff out. I'll drop a sub. I'm like, don't drop a sub. Do not. I do not want. I want no support. I want to do this because people find my content interesting. I don't want it to be like a guy that's my friend.
You don't want like a sympathy subscription?
No, not even a sympathy subscription, but a subscription from someone that's going to be like, oh, yeah, I want to support Coop. Great. But your subscription, I almost view it as a subtraction from what the real total is. Because for me, it's like, how engaging can you be to a stranger? And to your point, your friend's probably not going to be watching. I mean, I have friends that I've made that do watch my stuff. And they give me like, hey, this is awesome. That's cool. But like, to your point, nobody's really going to be like invested the same way a fan would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with that. And the thing about it is, man, that I rather would have a fan base of strangers that support me and that understand and that are willing to have a conversation and we build a community together. Truth be told, when it comes to this content creation game, or if you want to do a podcast or whatever you want to do, I rather would have that to a degree than just it be like a community of friends and family that I'm already in community with, that are only, when it comes to this level of support, if it's not at a bigger scale where it's like Rogan-esque, or if it's at a point where it's like, oh man, he's up for like a major motion picture with a bigger budget. Like, oh God, we really have to support now. This could be a come up for everybody. And I hate to say it, that's people support based on sometimes what they can get out of stuff. I'm not saying it's everybody's family and friends, but some people move that way. And that's another ugly reality.
It's also like, it's not a bad thing that your friends would, like, if you got to show me, again, this is kind of what goes back to what we were talking about. You got to show me for me to believe.
Right.
Like, if you say you want to do something, I'm not going to support that unless you actively are doing it. And again, my level of support, because I also know I'm not going to like needlessly subscribe if I'm not going to watch. If I'm actually interested in a friend's stuff, I'm going to watch it.
Right.
But I'm not going to just like, needlessly, I hate when people hit me with the, oh yeah, dude, I'm going to leave it on my computer. So you get like the watch time. It's almost a little bit of like an insult to me. Cause it's like, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there, but I'm not gonna be invested in watching.
Yeah. Well, it's also like, do you think that I couldn't get that on my own? Like, do you think I'm that like desperate for engagement that I just need that? It's like, no, it's not the case. So for me, I understand what you mean, but I also have to see it to believe it. If a friend comes to me, hey, I'm starting to think about doing a YouTube channel. Good. I'll point you in the right direction for good equipment. Boom, go for it. Yeah, but if they never do it, I'm not gonna, like an idea, like you said, is not the same as execution. Mm-hmm. As long as there's execution, I'll support. But I won't also support with comments, with liking, I'll hit them up and be like, hey, love this new video. Keep doing your thing. That's like a real friend support, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's one of those things that if you focus on the reason why you're doing the content versus who is watching, I think the flock will come. I think the destined audience that you want to speak to will come. And the reality of the situation is people are pulled in so many different directions, and there's so much media to consume that's at your fingertips. It's not like how it used to be. You could pop in a CD, you could pop in a VHS tape and just watch that. Everything was like kind of, put into a box, and you could watch this media at any given time you see fit. Now somebody can literally go on their phone, do a couple clicks, open something up, and now watch thousands upon thousands of different content from thousands upon thousands of creatives. And the game is a little bit different now. The YouTube that you entered in at a certain time is not the same YouTube that was around in 2007. It is a totally different ball game, but that does not mean that you can still find your community and make an impact. I think it's a matter of being authentic. I think it's a matter of staying true to who you are. And that's another thing that I do got to give you kudos for. I don't ever produce a piece with you where I feel like, okay, you wasn't acting like your authentic self. What the hell is going on?
I just, like, why even go in front of the camera if you're not going to be you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that. I feel like people, like, if you have a love for the game, then I couldn't conceive of a thing where I was like, I got in front of the camera and I didn't do what I would usually do in real life, because I love it so much that it wouldn't make any sense to me.
No, I mean, it makes sense, man. Because I'll be honest with you. I've seen a lot of people. You hear stories about a lot of content creators. They do this, they act one way in front of the camera. Outside of the street, they are not even the same person, remotely the same person. And it's not necessarily a knock, but I think what'll help people is just kind of adding. I'm not saying you have to be totally vulnerable in front of the camera and crash out like some creatives do to get views. But the one thing I will say is that I think it's beneficial to take a piece of the authenticity, or definitely a good amount, and then add that into your content. Because the one thing that people will subscribe to is a cause, a story, and also a story that's authentic. That will get people to move. And when you have a story and an authenticity that people can gravitate towards, like, it's something that you can only monetize fake for so long. You can only monetize BS for so long. You can only monetize drama and garbage for so long. At the end of the day, I feel like, especially now, with the way things are going out here in the content creation space, I think people want to be around. I'm gonna use a couple people for example. I think that's why Speed is where he's at. I think that's why Kai Cenat is where he's at. I think that's why Mr. Beast, to a degree, is where he's at. Is because there is an authenticity to the content that they create that has galvanized millions of people to watch. And there is nothing fake about these dudes. Now, granted, I'm watching it from a distance. I'm on the outside looking in and I'm watching. But from the content that I've seen from those three gentlemen, there's authenticity there. There doesn't seem to be any fakeness there. Is there some performative? Yeah, there's some level of performance and charismatic attitude that you got to have, because you're literally presenting to a degree.
Yeah.
But as far as, can I sit over there and question if, when they give certain reactions to certain things, is there any type of fakeness, or they're trying too hard? No, I can't question that. I think genuinely that a lot of content creators such as yourself, I think, at one point there was a certain time where, hey, doing fake outlandish stuff is cool. We're getting clicks, we're getting views. I think now I'm starting to see like a pendulum swing, especially the last 5 years, where people appreciate authenticity more, and that's something that they gravitate towards.
Yeah, people can smell bullshit from a mile away too.
Oh yeah, now.
Unless you're like a little kid, and then that's why all those people that are super duper fake have massive child audiences, because children don't know their head from their ass when it comes to that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Do you grow up and you're like, that's corny?
Yeah. What do you think is, based on what you've seen in content creation the last 5 years, what shifts have you seen?
A lot more sensationalism. I think a lot of times in the last 5 years, you could just post up something. I mean, God, 5 years. So that would have been what, 2019, 20? No, excuse me, 2020. Yeah, 2020. So, I mean, by that point, there was already like the. Actually, there might have been more of that. Might have been more kind of just like sensationalized stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was just more. There was like more of a culture of like virality. Now things, they kind of go viral, but it doesn't feel like it doesn't really hit the same when things go viral now. And so I think there's a lot of more people just trying to do sensational stuff to go viral. Back then, there's also the quarantine, so there was more like there was just enriched content opportunities everywhere. Yeah, that's really. I mean, that's kind of what I remember from that time period where people were, there was like an ocean, there was an open ocean because everyone was in their houses, everyone was looking for comfort stuff to watch, so it kind of was like a gold mine or a gold rush, I should say, of different people trying to create different stuff, and then trying to one up each other with how insane they could get things. At least that's my semi-accurate memory of what happened, but I all that was a blur. I don't remember.
Yeah, I look back at 2020. It didn't even feel like it was 5 years ago. It felt like it was like 2 to 3 years ago. Like
time is flying.
The pandemic really messed things up because I'm like, how am I turning 35 this year? I don't feel 35. I don't feel any. You know what I mean? It's like, golly, man, 5 years away from 40.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts.
40.
Yeah, it's
looming.
Nuts. I don't need to hear no nursing home jokes. Not one. I knew that was. I knew. I saw.
Say anything.
Oh yeah, okay. It looked like you was about to.
I was thinking of one, but I couldn't think of anything.
Oh, okay. See, I know him. I know him real well.
But yeah, I don't know.
I fell asleep at the worst possible time. 3 minutes left.
Oh.
Yeah, I was sitting there. I was like, this man gonna have a joke the second I say I'm 5 years away from 40. You had like a couple of YouTube channels. I kind of did research on you. You had Jakey. You had a motivational YouTube channel.
Yeah, it was
and
Jakey.
now, yeah. And then you did motivational stuff, and now you have branded Gloves Up.
Yeah, I might want to get back to doing like more pop culture and entertainment stuff. I want to see. I mean, it depends on really what I'm looking at, because I do have a passion for MMA, but I want to be able to talk about maybe current events and stuff like that, or pop culture, or whatever kind of comes across and wets my whistle, as it were.
Go
Just
on.
using period appropriate terms for you in the 1800s when you were a kid. Anyways,
No, you ain't gonna try to roast me after saying that. Never mind.
No, I mean I'm just using stuff that you'd get, like stuff that wouldn't go over your head. You know what I'm saying?
It sound good. Anyway, go on.
Back when they would put coal into trains to make them go. Anyways, no, so basically, yeah. I mean, what were we saying? I just completely forgot.
You were too busy trying to roast me.
I forgot I forgot what we were gonna say. Probably happens to you a lot, right? Probably.
Short-term memory loss. No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
I don't go somewhere twice a week to get my head punched in.
I don't get my head punched in, despite what you might see. Everyone's very soft there. Pause. All right, let's.
Hey, some jokes
they're very gentle there. That's not much better.
Yeah, that's definitely not much better.
No, but oh God, what were we saying?
No, we were talking about
What the hell were we saying?
you tried to roast me, and then I looked at you like, oh,
Yeah,
here you go.
No, that wasn't. I guess we're both old. That's crazy.
No, we're not both old. So here's what I'm saying. I've noticed that, you did all of these different, you're actively participating as a content creator. Where is some other lanes that you want to go towards?
We talked about it on the show before, acting. I'm writing a movie right now. That's something that's kind of on the back burner. Like when I have time, I'll write it. I got 10 pages done. I still have to publish my book that I made. I've done comedy in the past. Maybe pick something up like that a little bit more. Yeah. Just want to be careful. I don't, kind of pull myself too thin.
Yeah.
Stretch myself too thin.
Yeah, I think you have the. I mean, I told you years ago. I think you have the capabilities of being all of these things. It's just a matter of knowing when to do it, and then also not burning the candle at both ends to the point you stretch yourself thin. Which is always, I think, with our friendship, that's always been my biggest concern with you. Is that's why sometimes I'll check in. I'll be like, "Yo, you good? Like, you handling everything okay?" Yeah.
Just barely.
Yeah. Well, I would suggest for you, like, just literally like Google Calendar everything.
Yeah, that's
almost like a check.
I gotta get at.
Yeah, almost like if you can find. Better yet, we don't have a sponsorship with them.
I was about to say, better yet, BetterHelp.
With Toggle has helped me out really well.
All right.
Yeah, Ben recommended me with that one, so it is pretty good. It is pretty good. Well, with that being said, thank you for coming through.
Guy.
We got another episode for y'all, and this one is going to be more interactive. Y'all take care. Y'all check it out next week.
Oh, sorry.
Shot at the lens again. We'll let it rock. Y'all take care.